Hi all, hi everybody. Hope you're having a good day out there. I'm going to review a movie called City by the Sea. But before I do, I'd like to make a quick statement. I'm sure everyone out there had heard of Screen Junkies in the past and Honest Trailers and their popular program Movie Fights. The host of that show and judge of that show, and I believe the creator of that show, and a major influence on Defy and Screen Junkies as a whole had been Andy Signore. And basically, I followed it when he had left Twitter and left everything and forced out and Defy and all that. Then over the time, I just figured he stayed off Twitter, he'd stay away and all this. But I gotta give him like a million percent credit. Not only I'm sure he had some other brand that he had founded in the past, so he's back with that brand. He may change and rebrand, but he's on something called Popcorn Planet right now, and he's based out of Tampa Bay, Florida, I can tell from. And look, as someone that was wrongly done in by the media and the public, I really, really, really appreciate him coming back, and it's inspiring. Even though I'm looking at his reviews or his shows, his content, and people are just thumb downing it because of who he is and what happened, I guess. Because the content itself is basically either a step up or a step laterally from what Screen Junkies did. Just goes to show you, I mean, you got guys like Joe Starr and all those people over there, and they're all among the same kind of wavelength and thinking, and they can't generate anything creative without Andy Signore involved. Because if you think the last year and a half of movie fights or Screen Junkies has been good, absent of Andy, then you're, sadly mistaken. I watch it almost all the time just to hate watch it almost and see exactly how bad and misguided and how cuck they are, for lack of a better word. It's not even an expression I like using all that much, but I think it pretty much describes them to a T. Um, Whereas you got Andy out there, always free thinking. Now on this new thing, not caring about profanity, having all sorts of, uh, you know, sexual questions that you would not expect someone like him to have, especially coming off the allegations that he had. I mean, I swear, I don't care what he did or what he didn't do. He's good for the programs. He's good for movies. He's good for content. He's good for creation. Um, Now let's talk about me and Andy. Andy took many phone calls from me when he worked at Defy, and also very much a lot of emails and a lot of suggestions. A lot of my suggestions made it to the air. A lot of them didn't make it to the air. Many of my suggestions had to be with like, can you get some new voices on the show because everyone is from the same movie media bubble, and it rings of staleness and sameness. And when he was at Defy, he really, was still part of that. He was, not as receptive, but he sure has become quite receptive at the new venture that he's at, and I really do appreciate that. Um, I'm really excited to possibly participate in future shows. Um, I've worked in the TV media, the news media, the sports media, all sorts of ventures of the media as an information source and on air and a producer, and then was done in wrongly, not by anything in the last couple of years, but something pretty far back. But to see him have the money and the manpower and the ability to stand up for himself and defend himself with these new videos and everything like that, because that's basically what they are. They're basically entertaining uh, shows that are him not just burying his hand in the sand. So by their very definition, their existence are kind of defending everything that we've heard about him and everything that we heard. I mean, now they don't even speak his name on the air. They talk about. I saw Mr. Murrow get interviewed by Mr. Harloff, and I wanted to ask Andy if he had seen that interview or what he has to say about what Dan had to say there, because he basically is insinuating that Andy was setting up Dan to have some quick fling with a woman that he ended up then being involved with, a woman named Mara. So I'd like to know a little bit more about all this. But as Andy said on an interview that I seen on the Controversy, um, he's moved past all this, and we're looking on to the next stages. Andy, I've emailed you a bunch of different Twitter ideas and things for the show going forward, and I look forward to participating and being a part of the programming. And obviously knew that I had some valuable things to bring to the table on your past ventures, and looking forward to being a part of them in your future ventures. That being said, not sure if you've seen this movie, Andy, but I'm going to do a review of it. It's called City by the Sea. I remember seeing it. I was around, 18 or 19 years old. Went and snuck down at the old theater. There's two theaters where I grew up. One had 22, and had a 30. So it was basically like there's 52 theaters in one parking lot. So it was quite easy to sneak in to them. The more theaters there are in a building, the harder it is to keep people out. So for whatever reason, I wanted to see City by the Sea, and I believe that it had been released in March of 02 or March of 03. March of 0, some early year in the 2000s. And what do I like about this movie? Well, I really like the direction. I think Michael Caton Jones, in his two collaborations with Robert De Niro, being This Boy's Life and City by the Sea, obviously, This Boy's Life had a lot more acclaim. I'm pretty sure this got bad reviews. I don't really know why. It's kind of an Oscar bait film that was released outside of the Oscar category, meaning that maybe they didn't think it was going to qualify and they just wanted to get some cash back. It did get 2 thumbs up by Ebert and Roper, though, Siskel having already passed away. Um, and I kind of agree with Mick LaSalle. He said of San Francisco Chronicle, an old friend of mine. He says De Niro has been showing us great stuff for 30 years now. This is a quote. But in this movie, he shows us something new. I would tend to agree. Now, before James Franco just multiplied himself and put himself in almost every movie and became very annoying. This is in the era when James Franco was sparsely in things, and people would be like, "Oh, I like to see James Franco in more." So that's why I think I was fond of his performance when I first saw it years back. When I see it now, I see a little bit less strength. That maybe someone else could have brought a little bit more to the table, but the character that he's playing and the circumstances that he's in, I really did quite enjoy seeing that. Frances McDormand in kind of a thankless role, but does well with what she can in it. This is a very interesting story. It's based on an article by Michael McAlurry. Not too many movies that are based from articles. So basically, it's about an article about how Robert De Niro is the son of a famous murderer. Growing up in that life, he's become a homicide detective, ironically, and due to some marital issues with his, the woman that he's married with, he, breaks up with her and sets his son onto a drug-addicted bad path. And then you got Eliza Dushku doing very good as James Franco's the mother of his child, for lack of a better descriptor. So when James Franco gets in over his head with some drug deal and a killing and all that, then it's up to Robert De Niro to try to track down his son before the gangster William Forsythe will do so. You got George Zunza as a partner of Robert De Niro. I think he does a really good job as we get to know George Zunza's family and De Niro's family. And it's a family crime movie, I guess is how you best describe it. A movie like Flesh and Bone, I think, really fails because the performances in it aren't as strong all the way, and it just kind of loses its believability. But with this movie's strength, and I really give, I mean, yeah, you could say Franco looks his head at times. The dynamic that they're creating between father and son, Franco being kind of new to acting, and De Niro, being De Niro, I really, it's really a strength of the movie. The strength of the movie is how these two people that are related are going to reconnect, and how James Franco's mother and Robert De Niro can still forge some kind of friendship, I guess, too, in a way. It's got a lot of big producers involved with it. Ellie Samaha, Michael Keaton Jones himself, Brad Gray. Um, it was made by Brad Gray Pictures of Franchise Pictures, and it just did absolutely very poor at the box office. City by the Sea came and went at the box office. I'm really surprised that it has any special features at all. There's like a video poem, I guess you would say, by Michael Keaton Jones called Six Words About Filmmaking, which I recall being a lot longer than 6 words. But I think there's a behind the scenes making of this movie, but if not, I'm mistaken. But most definitely, there's a feature length commentary by writer Ken Hickson and producer Matthew Baer. And I believe there's some good information by Michael Keaton Jones on here. But I thought that he was on the commentary too, so I may have to re-listen to that commentary track. But if you want to see a movie that pairs, McDormand and De Niro, two-time Best Actor or Actress trophy winners, and Franco, who clearly is a talented actor and has been nominated for Oscars, is just in a little bit of a phase of annoyance to me because he's in so much these days. But back in the day, he wasn't in as much. I give this movie a rare A plus. I really feel that if you watch it and really give it a chance to kind of wash over you, the only slight things that are not there as much are like a full character arc for Frances McDormand's character, which she willingly accepted the role. So she knows that it was a strong character. It's not that it's not a strong character. It's just that it doesn't have a fully fleshed out arc, which neither do any of the other. I mean, De Niro, it's fully fleshed out, and Franco it is too. So I guess you could say that's a little bit of something that sticks out as like, oh, what was McDormand's purpose in the movie? And she does have a purpose. It's just not as like clearly defined as the father and son. So by all means, check out City by the Sea. I would say it's not necessarily a mob crime drama, but it does touch on the mob a little bit. But definitely a crime drama about what we get our traits from, if De Niro is a killer himself because his father was a killer, if Franco's a killer because his grandfather was a killer, and all that kind of stuff. I highly recommend you check out City by the Sea for yourself. I don't want to reveal all too much. There's some cool scenes in it. Definitely worth rewatching. And I hope you can check it out. And yeah, just from where De Niro looks there till where he is in this stage, people always say that he phoned in a lot of roles, but this one's not one that he phones in. No, I'm going to be very clear about that. This is one of his better roles where he occupies almost every scene in the movie with 110, 115% intensity. So for that reason, I highly recommend that. Looking forward to talking a little further. Probably post either a video or commentary. And gotta check out my old friend's stuff, man. I mean, I'm excited to see that someone who was so undone by people saying stuff about him online and all the media and all the different people bullying him and pulling his credentials and everything, that he's bounced back and he's created something that's just in many ways the same as what he had before. It just doesn't have the viewership yet. But I have some good ideas out there, Andy. Go ahead and let me know. Hopefully we can consult on the phone as we had in the past. And I'm very much looking forward to the next stages of your movie media career. And as I get started further on my movie media career, I mean, obviously, I reported about the Sonic the Hedgehog story rights going to Paramount. I reported about the casting of all sorts of different people through the years. Do I have a website? Do I have a thing to go for it? No, but you can ask these people where they get their information from a lot of the time. And as you know, we've spoken on the phone. And as you know, I'm very able to pick up the phone and talk to Tom Rothman and talk to any executive in Hollywood and get the real deal scoop. So definitely a valuable asset. But more importantly, I do like watching all the content and seeing how one would come up with new content and new shows and stuff. And I'm pleased to announce I do have an idea for a show I'll share with Andy for his channel. Maybe go down to Tampa Bay and work on it a little bit further. It very much combines movie fights and nerd wars and all these shows into something brand new that I think will be in high demand for sure. Now, to everyone out there that's not watching his videos or that used to be at Screen Junkies and is not participating with him on Twitter and stuff, you guys owe your career to Andy. Let's not stutter about that again. You owe your entire careers and whatever you have to Andy Signore. So you should forget about everything else and start talking to him more. This is for you, Alicia. It's for you, Dan Murrell. For you, Spencer. For you, all these people. All these people that I know that think they're better than talking to Andy, they need to check themselves because they wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for Andy. That being said, he's not always the most agreeable person in the past, so I could see where they have a lot of resentments and maybe they felt however they felt towards him before these allegations, and I felt a certain way towards him too, of course. And then when these allegations, it just it became kind of overwhelming for people to deal with their feelings towards him. But they need to drop it. It's years ago now, and the guy is extremely, extremely talented, and he's trying to build something new. So I look forward to talking to everyone else a little bit further, and go ahead and check out City by the Sea as well.